Welcome to NBA Today. I'm Malika Andrews. So, Mr. Darvin Ham, he is the 28th head coach in Lakers history, and 6 of his predecessors, they went on to win championships. So, if Mr. Ham is going to become the 7th, he's going to have to follow in the direct footsteps of his coaching predecessor, and that was Frank Vogel. So the 2020 Lakers, they're the only team in franchise history to win a title the next season after missing the playoffs. But a little bit of good news for Darvin Ham. He still has one Mr. LeBron James wearing purple and gold. And Ham, he was on with our friends on All the Smoke, and he talked about his expectations for LeBron in his 20th NBA season. Take a listen.
He's conquered everything, but again, we talk about sacrifice. And first thing people think about is sacrificing scoring output or shots or something like that. No, sacrificing making selfless plays. You know, if you don't have the ball, pushing it in the break, are you willing to sprint to your spot and open up a lane for your teammate? Are you willing to sprint and open up an open shot for your teammate? Are you willing to box out even though you're not going to get that damn rebound? But you putting a body on a body so your man can come in and scoop it up and we can get going with our pace. So that's the thing I'm thinking about, and my hat's off to him. Seeing him when he first came in the league and all the pressure that was put, the so-called pressure that was put on him, he's risen to the occasion time and time again. And he is wholeheartedly deserving to be in that GOAT conversation. Absolutely. He's top 5 that are alive, in my opinion, and I'm thrilled to be able to coach him and going to try to learn from him. Going to try to show him what I see and hold everybody accountable, because those are 3 words I stand on and live by. It's going to be even more so with this team: competitiveness, togetherness, and accountability.
All right, so we have a whole lot to unpack there from Darvin Ham, and we have just the people to do it. We have our reporter covering the Lakers, Dave McMenamin, our analyst, Roz Gold Onwude, and senior writer Zach Lowe is joining us as well. So, Zach, I'm going to start with you here. Everyone's favorite question, greatest of all time, MJ or LeBron? I'm totally kidding. Don't answer that. What are the Lakers' expectations for LeBron? What are your expectations for him going into this season here?
Yeah, I don't really know what sacrifice means for LeBron James on this Lakers team, because if it means giving the ball up to other people, I'm not sure that's a good idea. I kind of want LeBron to have the ball basically all the time, every possession, run the show. What Darvin said about rebounding, boxing out, all the tough, gritty stuff, I think that's important. I think the Lakers, as currently constructed, they're going to need to dial in on all that stuff with all their guys, not just LeBron. That's about everybody, because their depth is once again a little bit suspect. The fit between their 3 best players, or their 3 stars anyway, is a little bit suspect. So I think they're all going to need to dial that up. But as far as LeBron, his role changing at all, he's still going to be the maestro, and they need him to be the maestro because they don't got another maestro near his level.
And, you know, even though the Lakers didn't necessarily have a great season last year, LeBron James still brought leadership through a compelling and captivating individual season, being almost winning the scoring championship. But I think the biggest key for him and for the other 2 of the big 3, in Anthony Davis and in Russell Westbrook, would be leadership by availability. And that's going to be so key. You know, they're all 3 of them are generational talents. When you lose a generational talent, the team's going to struggle. So the key there is making sure that people can get their rotations right, making sure that people know where their shots are coming from, and giving Coach Darvin Ham a chance to build chemistry around his new system.
The thing is, I hear you, Roz, but I'm kind of with what Zach is saying about, I'm not totally sure what sacrifice means when you're talking about LeBron James, but I do know this, Dave, you've been around LeBron since 2014. And I don't think that any expectations that Darvin has for LeBron, that Rob Pelinka has for LeBron, that Jeannie has for LeBron are higher than the expectations that he sets for himself. So what is he thinking as he heads into this year 20?
Yeah, Malika, it comes down to whatever he has to do to get back into the postseason. Now, I remember in 2019, it was the first time LeBron missed the playoffs since his 2nd year in the league in Cleveland. He watched literally every single playoff game of all the other teams involved. And he said it was both an exciting experience, but also painful to see that and not be a part of it. It happened again this year, and not only did he watch the games this year, but he was getting on Twitter and having conversations about what he was seeing. It's going to be about managing his body, managing his team to get there and give himself a chance. He wants to add that 5th ring. You know, I don't know if this Lakers team, as currently constructed, will be in a position to win a championship, but if he gets in the tournament, we'll see what happens.
And it's funny, I actually just spoke with Darvin Ham this week on the VC show with Vince Carter, his podcast, and it spoke to what you were saying about LeBron's expectations for himself.
Yeah.
And him playing in the Drew League, Darvin actually liked it. He thought it was a good sign. Sometimes, when you're on the staff or you're a coach, you're worried that your star player might get hurt. He said seeing LeBron at the Drew with nothing to have to prove to anyone showed him, one, that he still loves the game, the pureness of it, and that he's still hungry.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the way that they were playing defense, I wasn't too concerned about anyone getting hurt in that game. But that's what he was proclaiming to you. He made sure that you heard him say, I'm healthy. There was no
healthy.
mincing that message that he was giving there.
Yeah, 100% healthy. The only people complaining about LeBron in the Drew League is Mr. Zach Lowe, who said, what's he doing playing 40 minutes in a summer game? Come on, Zach. Come on.
Summer fun for you.
I'm just trying to be safe. I'm just trying to be safe. I want him in the NBA.
He's a man of the people now.
Well, if they want to get back to the playoffs, if the Lakers want to get back to the playoffs, LeBron James offensively, he's going to have a little something to do with that. So LeBron, 1,326 points away from passing Kareem's all-time scoring record. The record for points in a 20th season. It is 17.5 by Kobe Bryant. And at that pace, it would take LeBron 76 games. So he would need to stay healthy all year long. LeBron's lowest scoring year was just under 21 points per game his rookie year. And so at that pace, it would take him 64 games. So we're looking at sometime beginning of March by that measure. But at his current average of around 27 a game, it would take him 49 to pass Kareem, which I think would be sometime around the end of January. You see me doing all that math in there? Everyone at home, hit record. Save this, because I like predictions and bringing them back, except when I have to make them. Zach, with all of those numbers as the backdrop, when do you see LeBron breaking the all-time scoring record?
I don't know. You want me to pick a specific game where he's going to break the all-time scoring?
Schedule being out, pick a game.
Game 53 of the season. I mean, I really don't care, but he's going to do it inevitably, and it's going to reorient the discussion about his place in history in ways we can talk about later. I think it will be an incredible accomplishment, but if you're pinning me down, game 53, I have no idea why.
Shrug emoji it is then. Roz?
What is it? The Price is Right? You get the closest without going over?
We're playing Price is Right.
$1. $1.
No. I'm actually really close with you, 51. And the way I thought about this was, he was going for the scoring championship last season, so that's about 30 points per game that he averaged. I hope to see more availability and consistent productivity from guys like Russ and AD. So I'd imagine that point total goes down, and that's a good thing for the team. So even if he's still, dropping 26 points per game, 25 points per game, I'm around that 50-game range too around All-Star Weekend. Is that enough for you, Malika?
I think I will accept that as a little bit more than a shrug emoji. Dave?
All right, I'm going to try to make the computer, Kevin Pelton of the ESPN.com NBA staff, proud here. So LeBron's about 1,326 points away from passing the record at 25 points per game. That's 53 games. But, I mean, you have to expect him not to play all 82. Let's be conservative, say he plays 80% of the games, add in 11 more games, 53, 64 games into the season. So wherever that will land, I think that would be post-All-Star break. Post-All-Star break, LeBron, and he'll try to do it at home, of course, if you have any control over it.
So Zach was 53, I was 51, you're 64.
That's right.
And saved, recorded, press rewind. All right, Lakers as a whole, because I'm not making a prediction on this. You guys already lost me. They have more championships, 17, than seasons where they have actually missed the playoffs. That's at 12. So I want to play a little bit of a fill in the blank here.
Okay.
The Lakers, they will finish blank in the West, Roz.
I could see the Lakers as a top 4 team. I think so if I look at how we...
In the Pacific Division.
And here's why I say this. I think that the Warriors, I think they could run it back. I think the Grizzlies are going to continue to...
They're coming.
Take forward progress, and they're motivated. I expect to see growth from teams like the Clippers, who with all their talent could make a big jump. The Pelicans, I expect to see growth. But the rest, you guys gave me an eye. The rest of the West have a lot of question marks and gaps to fill.
Suns?
There's a number of them. Each team has question marks beyond those 4 for me. Players that they lost to free agency, shifting movement. So I think there's an opportunity, if that talent can get it together, that they could possibly get to a 4 seed. That's where I have them at.
Dave?
I think with health and filling out the roster in the requisite manner between now and training camp, I could see them in the 6 to 8 range, competing with teams like Portland and San Antonio towards the end of the playoff ladder. New Orleans Pelicans. 4 would very much surprise me, but, you know, bet against LeBron James and Anthony Davis at your own peril.
Absolutely. Zach?
If they're all healthy?
Look, I'm taking this question as they are constructed now, meaning Russell Westbrook is on the team,
Correct.
not Kyrie Irving, not Buddy Hield, Miles Turner, whatever. As of now, I'm going 7th. And that sounds pessimistic, but remember where they finished last year. Russ, AD, and LeBron, even when they were healthy, didn't work last year. Golden State, Clippers, Denver, Phoenix, Memphis, Minnesota's improved, New Orleans is improved, Portland is solid, up and down the line.
Dallas.
Do they have the upside? Dude, Dallas, I forgot Dallas. Do they have the upside of a 4 seed? Do they have an upside of a 4 seed? Maybe, but that feels like an absolutely everything goes right scenario, and everything never goes right. Some things will go wrong for those other teams, so 7th feels like about right, but as Dave and Roz said, they're still working to redo this roster a little bit, and if they hit that, then the ceiling goes up.
As we continue to wait for Karl Anthony Towns to sit down with us, Dave, when we're talking about 4 or even 6, 7, 8, when we look at past LeBron teams, the thought is just get into the playoffs. Just get into the playoffs and anything can happen at that point. But is there any thought to, well, if you fall into that 6, 7, 8 range, that couldn't see their goals end the way they want to?
I mean, it's an arduous Western Conference. We just listed all the teams that we would consider, or some of us would consider finishing above them with good reason. But there is something to that. They were coming off the championship in the bubble, a banged-up team who did have a 2-1 lead over the higher-seeded Phoenix Suns in the first round. Now, they lost that series. Anthony Davis went out with a groin injury. Alex Caruso was on the team at the time. He got injured as well. But with LeBron James managing the approach and certainly instilling confidence in this group, I wouldn't count out a special run. And guess what? Last year, it all fell off the cliff, went off the rails, whatever analogy you want to use. But going into the year, LeBron told his team, like, we're going to be like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We may take our licks during the regular season, but when it comes to playoff time, we're going to lock in and make a run. Maybe that prediction from LeBron was just a season too soon, and he can do that this year.
Maybe I'm too optimistic or bullish right now on the Lakers because I just spoke with Darvin Ham this week and I was feeling his energy. He's someone that I think, you know, commands respect. When you speak to him, you sense his seriousness and that he means what he says. And so a huge X factor to what the Lakers are actually going to be is how he can get the best out of Russell Westbrook.
I brought in the football.
Yeah, that's Dave's fault.
Russell Westbrook. And so I asked him about that, and he said there were a few things he was looking at for Russ to be put into positive situations, and that was going to be Russ told him he was going to be serious, a pit bull, and a tyrant on defense. He plans to hold him to that. He said he wants to put Russ in situations where they can beat the defense down the floor, transition and more pace will help him. And then the overall concept for Russ's game is him in totality, not just when he has the ball in his hands. So he's talking to Russ about be serious about setting screens. You're going to take a lot of corner threes. Oh, and they've already connected. And he thought that was really important, telling him to forget about last year, forget about how people piled on you, commit to doing this with me.
Well, as someone who covered Darvin Ham when he was in Milwaukee, when you do speak to Darvin, it makes you want to run through a wall for him. He has that presence about him. But you also need, one, Russell Westbrook's buy-in, which it does seem like Darvin Ham is getting and continuing to work on getting. But then there's also just an ability level. So if these are the thoughts, seeing it in concept is one thing, seeing it come to fruition will be another. And speaking of coming to fruition, how about Karl Anthony Towns coming to fruition on this show? He will join us in just a matter of